The surname Nagler refers to somebody who makes nails for a living. No, not these kinds of nails, those kinds of nails. And that also happens to be the name of my fourth great-grandmother on my direct matrilineal line. Welcome to part 30 of this series where I talk about a specific family branch of mine, and we are at the final one of these episodes, at least for now, because I have gone through every single other named line of my family, and the only one that's left is my Nagler family. But before we get into it, I have just one favor to ask, which is that you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and every passing day, this seems to become a more and more doable goal. So please thank you for doing that, and let's continue. In the previous episode of this series, I had talked about my Hechler family from Kolomaya, Ukraine. And Yutachaya Hechler was born to Herzko Hechler and Mincia. Mincia's surname was not so apparent until I discovered that Yuta had 3 younger siblings who died as children: Feivel, Meyer, and Kreindl. So now we had her maiden surname, Nagler, which is the name that we're talking about in this episode. The last of these children, Kreindl, was born in 1879, and using a common trick from these Galician records from this time period, I was able to reveal more details about Mincia's family. You see, the document reveals her parents' names and where they resided. They were named Chaim, Nagler, and Henny, and they lived in Yabluniv, Ukraine. Using the knowledge of their names and residence, I began to scour the Kolomaya records for any other hints of the family. And as it turns out, Mincia had a brother named Nachman, born around 1832, who died in 1882. And his death certificate gives his parents' names as Chaim David Nagler and Henny. So we now know that Chaim's full name was actually Chaim David, and once again we see this town of Yabluniv show up, but now we see another village be mentioned in this record, which is the city of origin of Nachman, Vyzhnii Bereziv in Ukraine. There are hundreds of people with the last name Nagler living in Kolomaya, and it's uncertain whether any of these branches are specifically tied to mine. I grouped them all into as many different family groupings as I could, but nothing apparently seemed to link them together. The only towns that I saw show up consistently with my family were Yabluniv and Bereziv Vyzhnii, and those 2 towns, along with Kolomaya, are all very, very close to each other in the Stanislavov region of Ukraine. You can drive between them in less than an hour, so they are very close to each other, so it's difficult to tell whether any of the people from Kolomaya are even related to them, even if they don't mention those towns. And this is made very, very difficult because of the fact that Nagler is, of course, an occupational surname. So because it refers to someone who makes nails, a lot of occupational last names show up among a bunch of different unrelated families. So without having any additional links, you can't always tell that they're necessarily the same family, because there could have been multiple families who made nails for a living who all went under the last name Nagler. Gesher Galicia does not have any Yabluniv vital records, and I'm not certain that any exist. So I'm not really sure this is a line I can take back any further. A similar thing goes for Bereziv Vyzhnii. There's really not much online besides for references to those towns in records from nearby cities. So for now, this is not something that I'm holding out hope for, but it is very interesting that I was able to uncover a couple of other villages outside of Kolomaya that my ancestors came from. Thank you for sticking with me as I have nailed down 30 of these lines. See what I did there? Hopefully we'll have additional ones in the future, of course contingent on cracking through some additional brick walls, which is something that I hope to do in the future, but of course is not guaranteed. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. Once again, subscribe, like, follow me on social media, and I'll see you in the next one.